Hi, this is Wes Stample with JWS Repair Service. We're not in the shop today either. Matter of fact, I've got something sweet for you today. How about homemade Cinnabon Cinnamon Rolls from scratch? Delicious. Stay tuned. Okay, we're going to break this video up into three parts. There is the dough, of course, for the cinnamon roll. There's going to be the filling, and then the glaze, which is the best part of all. But I will tell you, we'll give you one tip. Before you start this recipe, you will end up needing 3/4 of a cup of butter. It needs to be at room temperature, so go ahead and set that out prior so it'll be nice and soft for you. Now, if you do like I did, I made my own homemade butter, which is in another video, which I can link in the description. So I've got all my unsalted softened butter ready to go. But for you, you might want to take it out of the refrigerator and let that start warming up. Also, you're going to need cream cheese at room temp. Set that out, 1/4 cup. Now we'll go over the rest of the ingredients as we go. So I'll show you these for the first part. So for your dough, you're going to need 1/2 cup of warm water. When they say warm water, I like to get, this is going to be for the yeast, I like to keep it below 110 degrees. And you can see right here, as long as it's above 105, I'm good. That's 104.5 and dropping it. So 5 seconds in the microwave, and now we're at 106, 106.9. We're good. We're not going to make it over 110. 110 will kill your yeast. So what we're going to need is 2 1/4 cups of instant yeast, not cups. Holy crap, don't put that much yeast in it. How about 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, and we're going to activate it in here. I'm going to put it there. There's 2. And here's my 1/4. Okay. Now we've got the yeast in there. Let me put this away. And this is kind of hard to measure, but I always like to give just a tiny bit, like a pinch of sugar or so, to the yeast, just so that it activates fully. Gives that yeast something to munch on. And then mix that until it dissolves. Now while I'm stirring that, I'm going to go over the rest of the ingredients. The next thing you're going to need is 1/4 cup of white sugar. You'll need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You'll need 1/2 cup of milk. You'll need the 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, and you can either purchase unsalted butter, or if you make yours at home, it's automatically unsalted unless you add salt to it. So this is clearly unsalted. You're going to need 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. You'll need some more for when you're rolling it out and keeping it from sticking to your hands and stuff, because we are going to need this dough. And the other thing we're going to need are 2 large eggs. We're going to beat those a little bit. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to show you that. I'm sure you probably know how to beat eggs, but what the heck, we'll do it anyway. So I'm just going to stir this yeast up for a moment and make sure that it's dissolved in here. We're going to let that sit there and do its yeasty thing. And there we go. Alright, well, I still got a few little chunks in there. Okay, that's probably good. Alright, now, here's our mixing bowl. We're going to go ahead and put our sugar in. And we're going to go ahead and add the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. But I've got 1/4 teaspoon here, so we'll just do this twice. Like so. And like so. Alright. Okay, now I get to get behind the camera for a change. Now I have my lovely assistant here. She's taken the milk and the butter. And what you want to do is just heat this on a low heat just long enough to melt the butter. We're not trying to, don't bring it to a boil, because we're going to be adding this to our mixture that goes in the mixer, and we don't want to kill our yeast when it goes in. So once again, remember that magic temperature of 110 degrees will kill your yeast if you're not careful. So she's just going to melt that. It won't take but a minute. That butter was pretty soft already. If there's any place that you can get away with not already having the butter at room temperature, it will be right here and only here, but I don't recommend it. You might as well already have it set out and ready to go. Because this, yes, you could use cold butter here, but you're going to run out of time. You've got an hour for the dough to rise, is the only amount of time that you've got that you're not prepping for the butter to get room temperature, and unless you've got a really warm room, that's not going to be enough. So go ahead and just set it all out. That way you don't have to heat this as much and worry about it cooling down. You're doing a fine job there, lovely assistant. She doesn't speak, but she stirs well. Whoops. No, that's pretty well it, and that wasn't even time lapse, that was quick. So if you'll check the temp on that, I would appreciate it. Let's see what we're at. 118. Alright, we're going to have to let that set for just a little bit until that's cool enough to put in. So we'll be right back with making of the dough. Okay, we're back. I've got the milk and butter mixture. It's cooled down. It was way too hot. Now we're at 103 degrees, so that'll work. Okay, we're going to pour that in here. And then you can set this pan aside. We're going to slightly beat our eggs here, not a whole lot. They're going to get mixed up pretty good anyway. Just kind of want a coarse
breaking of the yolk.
Yes, what am I trying to say? Slightly beaten, not like straight up, not like a John Wick beating. Alright, we're going to add that to our mix.
You're not making scrambled eggs.
No, you're not making scrambled eggs. Okay, I've got all that stuff in there. Okay. Now what we're going to do is grab a dough hook, lock that, and we're going to just start mixing that a little bit and get the sugar and the salt, the eggs, the milk blended up some. And then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. You can see that yeast is reacting well. If you need to proof your yeast, that's proven yeast. So that's a good batch of yeast. All right, we're not ready to add that yet though. So this is looking good. Okay, we're going to start adding flour. We're going to do it gradually, just to keep it from being so messy. I'm going to turn it off. This is my half cup measure. I'm going to put a cup in there. Stir that slowly, because I don't know what it is about flour, but every time I put flour in a mixer, that stuff just goes everywhere. I'd rather not. It's almost like glitter, but well, no, actually it's nothing like glitter, but it goes everywhere. But you can't get rid of it, unlike glitter. We're just going to let that blend for a minute. just on a slow so it doesn't mess anything up. And we're just going to gradually add our flour and let this thicken until we end up with a nice dough ball. It's on the sides of the ball. I'm not worried about that right now. As it starts to make the dough, it'll pick up that loose flour and will actually clean the bowl. So, alright. Ready for a little more flour. Alright, slowly. Let it start getting mixed in some, and then we can speed up a little bit. That's okay. Watching this mix up is still better than watching paint dry, because when this is done, it's delicious. You see, that's already trying to form a dough with just that little bit, but we've got quite a bit more flour to get in there. And we're going to let that start kind of flopping around, and it'll get that flour on the sides. Just like that. Alright. That was 2 cups of flour. There's 2.5. That's almost 3. It's a little bit short there. We'll try that. There we go. That should leave us about a 1/2 cup left. We're going to add that in a moment. Once again, start it kind of slow. Give it a chance to pick up all that loose flour, and then we'll gradually increase the speed. And once that's pretty well blended, we'll add our yeast, and at that point we'll give it a couple of minutes to just to blend the yeast in really well, and then we'll get it kneaded and get it ready to rise. It will take 1 hour for this dough to rise, or until it's doubled. Usually about an hour. It could take longer if you're in a colder room, could take less if you're in a warmer place. So depends on maybe the time of the year where you're located. Whoa. That's getting kind of stiff. Whoa, whoops. Well, we won't worry about putting that in there. All right, now we'll put the rest of our flour in. Let's set that down. And I will pick this up. Now there is some water. You do have a 1/4 cup of water that's in with your yeast. You're going to put that in all in together. So if this looks too stiff right now, it's okay, because you're going to add a little more liquid to it, which is going to loosen it back up some. We want a tight dough. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add our yeast mixture. Just dump that right in there. Don't fall out. Like so. Put that back in there. Now we'll give that a couple minutes to stir up nicely. Speed that up and get that to mix. We basically want it to be smooth. We don't want it to have lumps in it, so that just means it's not really mixed very well. So we're going to let this go until it gets smooth. It shouldn't look really wet. It's going to be sticky, but it shouldn't look really wet. Okay. Still a little wet, but that's okay. We're gonna add some flour to that and get it to tighten up. Once it's on the, oh, I need that. Excuse me. Let me get my little scooper here. Get that off of there. No, give me that little piece. Alright, there we go. Okay, I've got a really small kitchen, so I have to steal my utility room to get stuff like this. So this is actually the deep freeze. And I just put down some parchment paper on the deep freeze so I can knead my dough. And we'll just get our dough there. Now, the other thing you will need is a large pan. We're going to sprinkle a little flour on that. A large pan that's already been greased. I use just butter Pam on this, or a non-stick. You could just use some butter if you want, or oil, whatever you prefer. But you're going to need that. You're going to need some plastic wrap to give this a nice, happy home to do its rising in. Because, like I said, it's going to take an hour for it to rise. So you're going to want to give it plenty of time to rise. So we're just going to knead it until we get it nice and smooth. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then when we get finished with this, we're going to let this dough rise, and we're going to go prep the filling. As prep as it is, it's not really a lot of prep. Basically, you're mixing brown sugar and cinnamon just together, and then we're going to, once this dough is finished rising, we roll it out. We're going to just sprinkle that over the butter. We're going to put spread our butter evenly over it. And this is really not cooperating. Stop doing that. Okay. That's actually feeling pretty good. That's a pretty good tight dough. It's not quite as smooth as it could be, but then I'm wrestling this parchment paper, which is really not being fun, but oh, stop it. That's looking pretty smooth now. What we're going to do, we're just going to make this into a ball. Like that. Get a nice little ball. We're going to place that in our pan. Put that set in here. And then we're going to get some plastic wrap and cover it. We don't want cool drafts or anything getting to our yeast, or anything falling in the bowl by some accident. So we're just going to cover that up. A little bit of plastic wrap, if I can get it to cooperate here. And of course it sticks to itself really, really good. It's kind of like super glue. I mean, it sticks to you better than it sticks what you're trying to do with, but nevertheless, we're going to set this down on here. Okay, don't do it. Come on, just catch the edge. Well, it doesn't want to catch the edge. I may have gotten some of that pan when I sprayed it on the edge, and it's made it a little slickerer than it should be. Not sure what it acts like. And if I was at the shop working on a bike, I'd just get some brake cleaner and spray it on there and get that oil off of it. But we want to be able to eat this. Alright, well that's good enough. That's nothing's going to fall there. We're going to leave this to sit. And I will be back in the kitchen in a moment. We'll make that filling. Okay. Now that we've got our dough in there resting, it's gonna rise for an hour or until it doubles in size. We're gonna go ahead and make the filling. So for the filling, we're gonna need half a cup of brown sugar. I don't pack this, so this is not packed half cup. This is just a loose half cup. And we need a tablespoon of ground cinnamon. We're gonna put that in there, and then basically what I do is just shake it around in the bowl. If there's any lumps in the brown sugar, we're going to knock that out. But just give it a shake. You could whisk it if you wanted. It's not really that big a deal. But you're just going to break this up. Make it if you've got any lumps in your brown sugar, which is like always. But anyway, just kind of mush those up. Get that until you get a nice, smooth as grainy stuff can be texture there. And then that's about all there is to the filling. I'm just going to set this aside because we will need the dough to rise, and then we're going to put this on the dough, and that's where we'll need our next quarter cup of butter. So, alright, that looks pretty good. There you go. There's your cinnamon sugar filling. Okay, now since we're still waiting for the dough to rise, we can go ahead and make our frosting. So we're going to take our quarter cup of room temp butter. Wow, that's really room temp. That's warm. Okay. We will add our, sit there. Alright, don't sit there. Alright, we will add our room temp cream cheese, like so. And we're going to start, set that in there, maybe that'll work better. Alright. Now, we're going to put a mixing blade on there, like so. And we're going to start creaming those together. Now, in the meantime, we're going to get ready for the rest of the stuff that we need for it, which will be a cup and a half of powdered sugar. We're going to need a tablespoon of milk, but that's kind of hard to do, so I'm going to do that right when we're adding it. We're going to kind of add that towards the end. And then we'll need a teaspoon of vanilla extract, so we'll add that after this gets creamed together pretty good. Speed that up just a little bit. You're just going to want to mix that until it's smooth. I'm going to go ahead and put the tablespoon of milk in there since that's kind of sketchy to do. See if I can do it without spilling it. Yes. Miracles do happen. Alright. And we just need our teaspoon of vanilla extract. So let's go ahead and do just like we did the flour. For the dough, we're going to add this gradually and put it on a slow mix. Let it stir it up before it starts throwing powdered sugar all over the place, just like it'll throw flour all over the place. So we'll let that go. Sorry about the squeaking, that's the squeegee effect on the sides of the blade, but I love this mixing blade, it's awesome. Go ahead and speed that up just a little bit. Get that blended in nicely until everything is nice and smooth. I'll go ahead and just add this vanilla while we're at it. And there we go. 1 teaspoon. Alright. And that's the end of making ingredients. Now all we have to do is wait for everything to be ready so we can put it all back together. Or put it together. Alright, that's looking fairly smooth. Let's go ahead and add the rest of this powdered sugar. Alright. Like so. And we'll let that mix up. We got a few little lumps of the powdered sugar in there, but we'll just let it get that knocked out so we got a nice smooth icing. And there we have it. A little bit of powdered sugar on there. There we go. There is our icing ready. So we have done all of the prep that can be done until they're rolled out, filled, cut into cinnamon rolls, and cooked. And I'm just going to show you all this stuff step by step. So I will be back when we're ready to roll out dough and put the filling in. So don't leave yet. We're almost to the finish line. Okay, it's been an hour. There's our dough, nicely risen. I'm going to go ahead and throw out and I got rid of the parchment paper and just re-sterilize the top of this. I'm just going to do it direct so I don't have to fight the parchment. So I'm going to take our dough out. I'm going to drop it out. I'm going to knead it just a little bit to get the air out of it. We're going to punch it down, but if you punch it down directly in the bowl, it just sticks to your fingers in the bowl and everything else. So I just dump it out onto some flour and then give it a little bit of kneading, and it doesn't stick. So. Okay. Now we're going to try to roll this we're going to make this into let's say a rectangle shape, sorta. And we're going to want it, let me move this around a little bit, a little flour there. Alright. We're going to want this about maybe 10 by 14. So 10 by 14 inches. So we're going to go 14 inches long, give or take. We're just going to work the dough out and stretch it until we get it to relax some. It seems a little tense. If it's not a perfect rectangle, it's not the end of the world. That's hard to do with dough. I mean, you can always cut it if you're into, you know, you want it perfect. And that's probably about the length we're looking for. Now we got to get it a bit wider. So let's roll it out. Alright, well that's probably a little bit larger than it needs to be, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, let me get, okay, here's our very soft butter. We're just going to slather this in there. Try to give it as even as we can. This is the 1/4 cup that we were reserving. And this has not been refrigerated at all because I just made this butter earlier this evening. So nice fresh homemade butter to go with nice fresh homemade Cinnabon rolls. I'm going to give that a good slacking there. You might be able to tell I'm not a painter. Try to be sure to get it all the way to the edges, and that'll be the same as you'll do with the cinnamon and the sugar filling. I'm just going to get the last little bit of goodness out of here. Set that ball aside. Okay, that'll work. Now, we're just going to take our cinnamon and sugar and just make a mess. Well, you don't have to. You're probably gonna, but you just want to just coat every part of this. You're going to want to use all of this. I'm just going to try to get it as even as possible. I'm sure if you do this with a machine that's made to do it, it can get it perfectly even, but we're not machines now, are we? We're making this at home, so it'll taste the same. Just got a few light spots there. Okay. Well, that just messed up. Stop. Whoopsie. Well, that's okay. A little bit of handprint there. Nobody will see it. It's on the inside. Alright, now we're just going to start rolling this up on the short side. Just try to roll it. Don't pull the dough, but you want to try to roll it sort of tight, but you don't want to, I mean, it's not like you're trying to wrap a burrito or something. You don't want to stretch it. You just want to roll it. Okay. Take a bread knife. Cut this in about yay big pieces. I don't know if that's about an inch or so. That end one wasn't, but we can go ahead and cut these. Whoops, that unrolled. And let's go ahead and let me bring the pan over here. And I just got a flat cookie sheet here. We're going to space these things out because they will, we've got to let them rest for about another 30 minutes before cooking. But they're also going to expand quite a bit while they're cooking, so give them a little breathing room there. Just cut those off, put that there. And I did spray that pan lightly with some more butter pan. I just prefer the butter pan because, well, this recipe's got so much butter in it anyway. It just kind of seems fitting. But this is going to make some monster cinnamon rolls. If you want to make more, you can just cut them narrower. But what's the point in that? Then you just have to eat more. So just make them really big and then you only want one. Of course, it's the size of 5, but hey, who's counting? That way you can just tell everybody, look, I only had one cinnamon roll. I mean, that works, right? Okay, we'll put a couple of those in the middle. And there you go. you should end up with something like that. Okay. And get you a little plastic wrap again. You're just going to cover them. And we're going to let these rest and rise for about 30 minutes. And once again, that's kind of depending on the temperature in the room that you're doing it in. And since this is our utility room, it's pretty warm in here, so it may not take quite 30 minutes in here, but if it's colder where you're at, the room's colder, it's going to take a little bit longer. But we're going to let those rest for a little bit, and I'm going to clean up my mess. Okay, now that they've risen a second time, we'll remove the plastic wrap, and we're going to bake these at 350 for about 20 minutes. I'll be back in 20 minutes and we'll show you what we got and slather some frosting on them. Alright, 20 minutes later, here are our cinnamon rolls. Now the only thing left to do is just to put the frosting on them. Now you can, if you want, warm this frosting so that you could pour it on. I just dab it on. I mean, it's that way I can just put a big glop on top and it can just melt and drizzle around. Just put a nice good heaping glop on it. You've got plenty of icing for all of these, so you know, don't be stingy. I mean, load them up. Put you a big glop on all those, and then just enjoy that fresh baked, homemade deliciousness. We'll just let that do that. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed, so bear with me. Look at that frosting melting and draining down just like we want it to. I'll go ahead and make sure I get some, all of them. And we'll let those bad boys sit there. And just melty, melty, melt. And this poor guy here felt left out. He didn't get any. Alright. Well, that's about it for the video. We appreciate you watching. Hope you want to make this recipe for yourself at home. And it comes out very, very well. Follow the instructions to the letter and you should see pretty much the exact same thing. So we hope you enjoy it. I normally do a face first outro, but I can't do it this time because, well, I'm still icing the cinnamon rolls. But anyway, we appreciate you watching. If you like what you see, hit the like button. If you really like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Remember, it's free, but it really helps out the channel. If you want to make sure you see the next video as soon as it's posted, hit that notification bell. That way you'll know as soon as we upload something, you can take a look at it. So we appreciate it. Hope everyone is staying safe in this trying and troubled time. But here's something you can make at home and enjoy yourself. Catch us on the web at www.jwsrepairservices.com. And as always, thanks for watching.